Have you ever seen a movie that just looks really cool and has really cool visuals, but the story just confuses the hell out of you? That's pretty much me with this film. Ready Player One was released in 2018 and was directed by Steven Spielberg. It tells the story of these guys that use VRs to go into the video game world, and there's a guy that wants to conquer the video game world. Yeah, I probably summarized that wrong, didn't I? Ooh boy. So, Ready Player One, I remember this coming out. Yeah, it came out when I was 14. So, I remember it looking, it doesn't look too bad. That looks, pretty decent. I remember when the Blu-ray came out and all. Well, it only came out 3 years ago. But I never got around to watching it for myself. I had heard good things about it, and it was praised by critics, so why not give it a watch? It was added to Netflix, so I decided to watch it for the first time, and it's fine. It's fine. It's passable. I'm going to say it's just serviceable. I'm not going to call it bad. I'm not going to call it average, but it's serviceable. Yeah, it's serviceable at best to me. To me, the story, it's just very, very confusing. Yes, very, very, very confusing and very hard to follow to me. I got lost throughout some of it, and it started to be very hard to keep track of what was going on. I mean, the pacing's fine. Thankfully, the movie doesn't drag, since it's 2 hours and 20 minutes. I just think the story was so confusing, hard to follow, and just didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. It's not necessarily a bad story, it's just one that I found confusing. I got lost throughout some of it. But it's not like anything bad. I just think the story, it's just fine. The CGI and the effects, well, the effects are very good. I don't like the video game world CGI. It does not look cinematic worthy. I get what they were going for and I do appreciate it, but just the video game world looks way too PlayStation 4 like. Yeah, it looks too much like something from a video game cutscene, and I think they could have polished it a little more to make it look cinematic worthy. I just think it felt like I was watching a bunch of video game cutscenes, if I have to be honest, but I just think they could have polished the CGI more, make it look more cinematic. It's not horrible, but it could have looked better to me. The characters to me were pretty underwhelming, if I'm being honest. I'll start off with the main one, Wade, aka Z. I felt like I barely knew the guy. I felt like I barely knew his character arc. Okay, he had a character arc, he wanted to save the video game world, but I feel like I barely knew him. I feel like I barely even know who he is. Same with the other characters. The love interest, she's fine, but she's not anything terrible. The villain, why is the villain evil? What does the villain want? Even the video game villains, okay, they want to rule the world, but why? Why do you want to rule the world? Why are you evil? Can we at least get some backstory or motivation, please? Everyone else is fine, but to me it just feels like I barely knew the characters. They weren't fleshed out to their glory. The music is actually pretty good, and the climax is pretty damn impressive, so it's got some good action scenes. I don't hate the movie, it's just, to me, it's something maybe I'd watch again, but it's not something I'd be in a rush to. It's not bad or anything, I just don't think it's good either. Ready Player One overall is fine. The story is confusing, the effects are good, the CGI needs a little more work, the characters are fine but feel very disappointing to me, and the soundtrack is pretty good. It does have some good action scenes, but it's something that's just passable to me. I'm going to give Ready Player One, I'll give it a strong 6 out of 10. So it's close to being good, like it's this close, this smidge to being pretty good, but I just feel the problems outweigh the positives, unfortunately. Don't get me wrong, it's a very well made film. I definitely think Steven Spielberg should be proud of his work for this one, as he obviously puts a lot of effort into his films. But in my opinion, it's just fine. It's not good, it's not bad, it's not great, it's not horrible. It's passable to me. So it's serviceable, like, it's okay, it's, decently entertaining at best. So that is it for my review of Ready Player One. Stay tuned for my next review. Until then guys, good douche everyone and take care.